Next up is a guy who helped me come up with this idea. He's super creative. He's a partner and the chief digital officer at Deutsch LA, which is a creative agency in Los Angeles. He's one of the most accomplished digital leaders and marketers of his generation. He's overseen and developed innovative advertising and marketing campaigns, products, and platforms for brands including Volkswagen, Target, Taco Bell, Nintendo, Diamond Foods, Dr. Pepper and Snapple, Burger King, Domino's, and Best Buy.
You know, I love that one. You know, daily ticket prices are going up. We all know that. There's justifiable reasons for it, but it's a challenge, right? Particularly getting more people to the slopes. And the reality is that if you look at the last 20 years, the business has more or less been flat. And I think we've lost over 300 mountains over the last 30 plus years. It's not all doom and gloom, and I know many in this room are having success, but the reality is that the status quo is not working. I hope no one's from Blockbuster here, and the industry is not at a Blockbuster state. But what I believe is that it is time for change, particularly when it comes to marketing. And a lot of things in this business industry are hard to affect, right? Nature is hard to affect. Operational infrastructure changes are hard to affect. But marketing is flexible, and you can do a lot with it. So I want to talk about popcorn. Why? Because you probably never seen or heard about popcorn in this context. And I want to talk specifically about a brand that we've been working with called Pop Secret. Everyone familiar with Pop Secret popcorn in this room in some way? Maybe. Microwave popcorn. So Pop Secret gets outspent by a factor of 7, right? They're a challenger brand, a very small brand run by Diamond Foods. What I learned through this process is that Redenbacher, actually, all the food, pizza, the popcorn that you eat in the movie theater is Redenbacher, right? And then if you go to the supermarkets these days, you know, the blue boxes are everywhere. So Pop Secret is being crowded out of that space. They're dominated on the social web. More people are talking about other brands than them. And what they had traditionally done over a period of years is they only had enough money to run one TV spot and do a few print ads. And what they would do is they would run that one TV spot during popcorn season, which is the summer, which I learned also. And then the rest of the year, they would go dark. So essentially, the lights were out for them. And it just wasn't working, right? It was time for change. After a few conversations with the CMO and some of the other folks, we talked to them about the need for experimentation and how to break through. We weren't going to break through by just doing a better ad, right? It just wasn't going to happen. Or by telling a better story. And it's a very difficult thing to do when you only do it once a year. So we embraced this idea of little bets. It's a great book by Peter Sims that I'd recommend for a lot of you to read in this room, even if you're not a marketer. And the whole theory and the concept behind this is that frequency allows you to better position yourself for marketing and creative success. The reality is it takes about 3,000 ideas to get to one commercially viable product. And I've made a lot of bad ads, and most have failed. So there's this notion of really putting more out, making them more lightweight, keeping them less expensive, right? And a lot of famous brands and big innovators have adopted this kind of philosophy. So introducing Pop Secret Labs. Gone is the TV spot. Now emerging is this innovative platform where essentially what we decided to do is to create 10 digital experiments over an annual basis and run them, right? You know, more as experiments and to see how they do. So what we did is we gave ourselves an audacious mission. And this is really important with your marketing, right? Think big. Become the most talked about popcorn brand on the web through a series of small experiments that connect Pop Secret to movies at home. If Orville owned the theater, we wanted to own the home experience. So we made a bunch of little digital experiments. One was a Chrome browser extension to help you search the web. Another was a partnership with Rotten Tomatoes to help you find your movie critic. And the most successful one we did was this thing called Perfect Pop. And Perfect Pop was an application that helps you not burn your popcorn. I've burned a lot of popcorn bags, and I think many people have, but we wanted to bring utility and create some use around this. Sales were up, we became the most talked about brand online, and we got a lot of downloads. So here's a quick video on it. Roll the video, please.
Nothing ruins a movie more than a bag of burnt popcorn. And let's face it, that popcorn button on your microwave isn't exactly reliable. So Pop Secret decided to take matters into their own hands. Introducing Perfect Pop.
There's now an app to keep you from burning your popcorn.
So we put Perfect Pop to the test.
Rejoice! The days of you eating burnt popcorn are over.
With a lot of trial and error and working hand in hand with Pop Secret scientists, we popped a ton of bags. No, seriously, we popped over 2,000 pounds of kernels. 1,432 perfectly popped bags of Pop Secret later, we helped things go from this
I thought she had my back. My kitchen's filled with smoke and the whole damn bag is black. My mom's gonna be mad at me for stinking up the place. Burnt popcorn sideways, sideways.
to this. In the end, we'd solved a real problem for people, and Pop Secret got talked about all over the web. Perfect Pop was one of the top 10 most downloaded food and drink apps for 6 straight weeks. May you never burn another bag of popcorn again.
Subaudible frequency emits a signal, and a spritz of popcorn comes out of this unit. So we only made 30 of these. These were prototypes, right? They weren't finished products. We gave them 25 to tech influencers, donated 3 to charity, and within a month, we had 444 million earned impressions, and that actually made it the second most successful ad that we had done as an agency all year, and that includes some of our Super Bowl work. And what's exciting about that, again, is that we did a bunch of these experiments, and it took a long time, but you're starting to see real ROI against this type of experimentation on marketing. So what can we learn? What can the industry learn from some of the mistakes and the successes we've had? One, you don't have to blow everything up. You can experiment on the edges of the business. Think small, try small, test and learn your way in. I really love what's happening in the Mountain Collective. You know, that feels like something that is just beginning to get momentum, but it feels like it's happening adjacent to some of the business, but doing something. The next thing, you know, really is solve problems, right? Create value for your customers. Don't just push messages out there. You know, I think the Popcorn app, the Perfect Pop, is an example of really creating some utility and solving unmet needs. You know, Copper this year just released Sherpa, kind of ways for snowboarding and skiing. It's an early stage product, but it solves some problems for people on the mountain. It's a great first step. The next thing, invent with purpose. You know, a lot of clients come to me and say, well, you know, why, you know, I don't want to do this if I don't know what I'm going to get. There has to be some measurement. There has to be KPI attached to it. You know, what we did with all that Pop Secret stuff was we met weekly. And again, we are trying to become the most talked about brand online. So we are always looking at share of voice. And that was the metric that we always pushed against. The other important thing is, and I think this is critical for this industry, is we need to make new news, and it has to happen often. And one trick to do that is when I mentioned that the first smellable mobile app or the game is build PR into your marketing. When we look at all of our ideas before we even bring them into production, we ask, what would the New York Times write about this? What would the USA Today write about this idea? You want your creative ideas and all of your marketing, even if it's a print ad, to be provocative and be newsworthy and shareable. You don't have to do that, but you got to do something interesting. And then another thing is make friends with startups. You know, this can be costly, but there's so many. We have Google, we have Liftopia here, there's others. There's lots of people that are already generating a lot of momentum in the space with invention that you can partner with in a very kind of a cost-effective way to reach a lot of new people. And my last note here is, and this is a big shift for advertising and marketers, because what we've traditionally done is go away for months and months, work on a giant campaign, launch it, leave it, throw over the wall, and hope it works. What I always argue now for is this notion of being prolific and not precious. And that means not every pixel is going to always be right, but it's important to try more. And I think that's what we've learned. And this notion of kind of experimental marketing, little bets, is something we're trying to apply to a lot more of our client business these days. So thank you. Go to space. Have fun.
Great, thank you. So we're going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Please.
See how smart you really are. We heard Martin talk about being an instigator, or having the resorts become instigators. You're telling us to make sure when we do something, keep it lean, and then let's have a PR value. So what can the ski industry do other than hire Red Bull to do another one of those things? What could they do to come up with something creative, like Smart Pop, and get some PR value out of it? Anything that you could think of?
I think that, our approach always is that start with a focused and finite business challenge, right? What's the brief? What challenge are you trying to solve? I mean, again, really for Perfect Pop, if you look at that, is how can we win share of voice back without a lot of money? That was really what the challenge was. And then we all got in a room with the client and huddled around that problem. And then you start thinking, okay, well, how would that, we know that our audience, moms, are using mobile apps more and more. So and mobile, we have to be in that space. And the creativity flows out of that, truly. So I think it really is, again, trying a bunch of things. I don't think it's like, how do we save the industry all at once? But it could be, how could we create more reasons for people from LA to go from LA to Mammoth? That could be a challenge, like driving traffic. So I think it's, again, just being really strategic about what the challenges you want to solve, and then get the right mix of people in the room. I mean, get people like Martin in the room, get people that know social, get technologists in the room. The more diverse thinkers you bring into that scenario, the better.